Warren Buffett's first rule: how to identify vigilant leaders. Here, we learn about the very first rule of Warren Buffett: a stock must be managed by vigilant leaders. What that means is that the leaders should be observant and attentive. They should always be on the lookout for danger. In business life, there is no greater danger than not being able to meet your debt obligations. If case that happens, creditors can claim liquidation of the company. For this reason, you want a leader who is managing your company and is making sure that no dangers occur. A leader of a company will typically look at the two key ratios: debt to equity ratio and the current ratio. As an investor, you can check the vigilance of the leaders by looking up those two key ratios yourself. Debt to equity ratio can easily be explained. First, add up on the debt that you have. Say that is 20,000 Indian rupees in total. Then add up all the equity you have. So that is the net value of your personal assets. I could be your home, car, furniture, and so on, and subtracting the debt you have incurred in those assets, like mortgage and car loan. If that turned out to be 1 lakh Indian rupees, you would have a debt equity of equals in 20,000 slash in 100,000 equals 0.20. For comparison, Warren Buffett likes a debt equity below 0.50. In other words, for every 10 Indian rupees of equity, he only allows the debt to be 5 Indian rupees. All providers of financial information have debt to equity available on their homepage. For the equity, the calculation is very simple: assets, liabilities. When identifying the debt, it is not the same as liabilities. You need to look at the balance sheet and add up all the lines that has debt in it. There are people who do the debt equity calculation using all liabilities as debt, and clearly that would give another number. But Warren Buffett likes to look at the first method, and that is where you have your rule of thumb with debt equity that should be below 0.50. One thing that is important to remember when working with debt is that every investor appetite for risk is different. In any case, you should go with the level of debt that you feel comfortable with. Luckily, you do not need to do the calculation. The provider of financial information has always calculated it for you, and is typically disclosed on the front page for a given stock. Current ratio is another very important key ratio to be familiar when monitoring if the leaders are vigilant. What the current ratio is measuring is how well the company handles debt in the next 12 months. This is done by comparing the current assets with the current liability. Another way of seeing that is to compare how much cash is coming in the next 12 months, current assets, and how much cash is going out the next 12 months, current liabilities. Warren Buffett likes a current ratio above 1.50. That means for every 10 Indian rupees that is going out on cash, 15 Indian rupees should be a cash inflow. This calculation can be pulled off the balance sheet. Current assets and current liabilities are actually grouped nicely for you when you look at the balance sheet. Just as for debt equity, the current ratio is typically listed on the front page, already calculated for you, when you pull up the information for a given stock. As with the debt equity, the exact threshold for when you think a current ratio is sufficient is very independent. Some key points to remember: debt to equity ratio, sometimes known as debt/ratio. This key ratio is comparing the debt to the equity in the company. Warren Buffett prefers a company with a debt to equity ratio that is below 0.5. In other words, for every 10 Indian rupees in equity, the company should only have 5 Indian rupees in debt. Current ratio. This key ratio compares how much cash is expected to be converted to cash in the next 12 months, current assets, to how much cash that are expected to flow out, current liabilities. Warren Buffett prefers a ratio above 1.50. In other words, for every 15 Indian rupees in cash inflow, there must not be more than 10 Indian rupees in cash outflow. Current assets. This measure is indicating how much cash that is expected to flow into the company the next 12 months. Current assets includes among many different accounts, inventory, people that owe you money, and cash itself. Current liabilities. This measure is indicating how much cash that is expected to flow out of the company in the next 12 months. Current liabilities include among many different accounts, suppliers that you have bought on credit from, rent, expenses where you have used the service, but not paid. Thanks for watching.